Hey people, welcome once again to our series Critics of Controversy, a series in which we, in Otaku Clubhouse, talk about a topic that is usually divisive. And this week is no different. It's SuperIncognegro joined by Akuma Soul.
Hello.
And want to tell them what we're going to talk about this time?
I'd like to talk about spoiler culture when it comes to the idea of how much value something has to surprise you. Like, obviously I want to talk about things like different types of media with stories, TV shows, video games, and whatnot. And in my mind, I've always been one to find spoilers to be kind of bad, in the sense that I prefer not to know what's going to happen in a story before I actually go around to watching the story.
Well, I, for one, am of the controversial opinion that not necessarily that spoiling is better for the viewing experience, but I'm saying that it doesn't affect it as much as people believe. There are some groups out there who are like, oh, I don't want to know the ending of something. And some people will respond to that with the journey is more important than the destination. I'm somewhat leaning towards the latter. And to that context, I would say that the culture that we're in right now is the most divided in terms of this subject of spoiler culture, because it's so easily accessible to go and to any series, right? To go in knowing about the characters, knowing about the story, even knowing the ending, knowing the plot twist or whatever. So all the information is readily available to you. And on the other hand, there's been even more people who's like, no, absolutely not. I don't want to know anything. I want to go in blind. So what do you think about that?
Well, as you know, context is always important when it comes to anything. Let's say you were to watch the original Star Wars trilogy for the first time. If from the minute that you started watching, you were told that Darth Vader is Luke's father, how would that have shaped your vision or shaped your perception of how the story played out? I, for one, believe that knowing that Darth Vader is Luke's father actually I think that would actually mess up, obviously that would mess up the reveal for Luke himself and for the crowd, which I believe is considered to be one of the biggest turning points in movie history, was the line, "No, Luke, I am your father." I believe that's one of the, I probably misquoted that.
Yeah, you
whatever.
did, because Mandela effect. But anyway.
But I believe that holds a lot of relevance, whereas if you were to know it before the beginning of the movie, it doesn't really change too much. I honestly don't believe it changes too much, because there's nothing shown in the movies, I believe, that makes you feel more knowing that Darth Vader is Luke's father, aside from maybe the fact that they were both trained essentially by the same master, and the whole lightsaber thing. The fact that he has his father's lightsaber.
Yeah, and I'm sure, though, to be fair, to play to the other side of this than the one I'm currently on, I'm sure knowing that Darth Vader was Luke's father and you've never seen the series before, that lessens the impact of The Empire Strikes Back towards the end. And sure, if you knew it ahead of time, you could still be like, oh wow, that's very impactful to Luke. But if you didn't know, and it's one of the better executed plot twists in movies, at least. And then on the other hand, going from my personal experience, Berserk. There is an event in Berserk that separates the relatively low fantasy beginning of it with the dark fantasy, looking blood and guts, no pun intended, current arc, or the arcs after it. It's called the Eclipse. The Eclipse is a very big fucking plot twist / event that basically and spoiler warning, obviously enough, it basically kills off 90% of the established characters up to that point, and the person who initiated it was Griffith. And of course, I'm saying of course a lot, but I went into Berserk after hearing about the eclipse. That's actually what got me to read it. And by the time I got to it, I didn't think that the impact of it was any less significant than what the author intended. It was actually more significant because you know that Griffith is going to do these things to his friends, but when you're reading up to that point, you're just like, how the fuck? How would he do this? Why would he do this? And when you get to it, you understand, and I think that makes it, I'm not going to say better, because I have no point of reference to compare it to. Like, maybe I could erase my memories and read it again, but, you know.
Well, here's another one that I was thinking of. Now, when it comes to spoilers, there's obviously two different classes in my mind. There's spoilers during the midway point and spoilers to the ending. Now, say you were to know the ending of, say, ReZero. That would have probably not meant anything to you. If you just started it and just somebody told you the ending to that probably would have meant very little. But say you were to have middle portions spoiled, like Subaru's attitude change, or Rem's speech about how she loves him, or things like that. I believe having those just told straight out to you kind of negate the effect of them happening. It's similar to if you were told, I don't know, a character dies halfway through the series. Even if they're not a major character, having that character be told to you that they die halfway through the series could impact how you feel at the moment. Sometimes characters suddenly dying and something suddenly happening in a series is more valuable to a person's overall view of a series in the end. If you have, say, an instance, I don't know, where a character, I don't even know. It would obviously be when they would die. How would you feel knowing that character died before they actually die in the series, or before you even get to know that character? You wouldn't get invested in that character. Maybe not. It all depends on the person. Like, I'll reiterate what I said towards the beginning, is that we live in an era where it's easier than ever to know everything about a series. Like, even currently ongoing ones, like, there are leaks, there are, reveals from the creators and stuff like that. And it's only been recently, I feel like in the past 5 years, so relatively recently at least, that this whole divide has started up where people will go like dark on stuff, and this insistence of blind, like, oh, you can't know anything about it, you can't know anything, and then a counter to that is like, oh, you have to know everything, especially in video games. People will go look up on the wiki how to do everything, how to see everything, etc. And I don't blame them. Like, back in the day, people used to read guides, buy guides, go to GameFAQs, whatever. But now they're doing it for just to understand. Like, I hate to bring up the fucking Persona thing, but the whole Persona thing was people waiting for 6 months since the game came out in Japan first. And they're like, oh, I don't want to know anything. And that's a long ass game. That's like fucking 100 hours of content. You saying you don't even want to know, like, the characters or whatever? It's not telling you what their personalities are. It's just, hey, here's some art of the character, and then somebody might freak out of that. But, I think we've rambled on about this. If you guys listening have contrary opinions, or you agree with either one of us, let us know in the comments. And of course, you can always come and hit us up on Twitter or whatever else you got, whatever else you want to use to talk to us. So, this is Akuma signing off.
And see you guys on the next Critics. of controversy.